This week on Influence, 150 YouTube videos full of untrue crime. Greetings, Netscape navigators, and of course, you internet explorers. Welcome back to Influence with me, Matt Silverman. Thanks for hanging out with me for yet another week in the fascist hellscape that I like to call the United States of America. I hope that you are taking care of your mental health in these troubling times. I've been connecting with a lot of friends and just finding the smart friends and the well-read and the educators and teachers and technologists and people that I really respect and want to sync with in these difficult times, and having good and interesting discussions about what it all means and whether, what we're in for and how our democracy might withstand what is currently happening, and, getting some positive and optimistic feedback on some of it. None of us are experts, of course, but it's hard to not be so pessimistic. But what I'm about to cover today and in an upcoming episode may give us a little bit of hope, a little bit of positivity. And I don't want to be a Debbie Downer on all of it, because I do think there is hope and there is action to be taken. So I have good news and bad news, and I'll start with the good news. Yesterday, I found a computer in my attic that I was probably using around 2010, which seems like, not too long ago, but is 15 fucking years ago by my count. And it was the computer I was using probably around the time when I was maybe a year or two into the media biz. And so it has a lot of, first of all, before I tell you what it has on it, this is a 15-year-old computer running Windows 7 Home Premium. It's not professional. I think it's Windows Home Premium, Windows 7. And let me tell you something. It boots up just fine, works like a dream. And when I connected it to the old Wi-Fi, it updated Windows 7 for about 45 minutes. It installed 9 updates for Windows 7. I'm here coming to you from a Windows 10 computer, which is also approaching its end of life. And this little puppy booted up just fine and updated itself. It's not a good experience. I don't think you want to be using Windows 7, but it was a fun little time capsule, and it has a bunch of files and articles that I was editing and writing back in the old days. A lot of thumbnail images for ye old websites that are, I'm making a little tiny, a tiny scale with my fingers here that you can't see if you're an audio listener. But if you're a video listener, I'm also pleased to inform you that I've finally and properly set up my DSLR camera as a webcam, which is more complicated and stupid than you might think. It's a Canon camera, which I love, with a lens on it that I also love. But in order to use your, many hundreds, if not $1,000 worth of camera as a webcam via USB, you need to pay a subscription to Canon to use their software to use it as a webcam, as a camera. And I tried it, and let me tell you something, it sucks ass. And I was like, fuck this. So I went ahead and got a video capture card, which I did have one around here for work a long time ago, and it has it has moved on to another loving home. I was like, well, do I still have this? And it is not here. So I did get a new one. And for less than the cost of paying for shitty software for 2 years, I got an Elgato HD60X, which is, and I was like, I don't know, let's see how this goes. Plugged it in, HDMI out to USB, no software, no configuration. You just fucking plug it in, plug in the camera, and it just works. And so, again, in the theme of good news and bad news, picture quality is now outstanding. I'm thrilled with how everything is looking on the video version. Bad news, you can see all my eyebrow hairs, and you can see all the bags under my eyes, and it's not good. No one wants to see all that. But quality-wise, professionalism-wise, it's a little upgrade. So I'm very pleased about that. Bad news, we continue to exist in this terrible timeline. Good news is, getting back to that topic of connecting with friends and civic-minded people, I'm like, where are the heroes? Where are the Martin Luther Kings of our time, of our generation? As an elderly person with crazy eyebrows, where are the Martin Luther Kings of the younger generation? The younger, the 20-somethings, the Gen Z, I guess it's the Gen Zers, whatever you want to call them. And it feels like we are waiting for that person or that group to galvanize a resistance, right? And it felt like that person was not here. Those people were not here. And in talking with friends, it's like, well, you know what? These things take time. We need things to shake out politically. And then I started seeing, or I was saying to friends, I was like, where are the protests? Like, why are people not in the streets right now, given what is going on? And then, within a week or so, I started seeing on Reddit, and I will also add here that I have unsubscribed from most of the news and topical subreddits that would be covering, the daily and up to the minute news. I'm not a news junkie, and I don't really like reading or watching or listening to minute by minute news or daily news. I do like to stay informed and kind of get the sort of recap, so to speak, of here's what's going on, here's what I need to know, but I do not need to seek out news. But I was subscribed to a variety of subreddits that were like world news and politics, and just, when you start with Reddit, at least back in the old days, you are automatically subscribed to the larger sort of default subreddits, right? And so I have removed those from my social media consumption, and it was very helpful. It was very valuable to my mental health. And then what I found fascinating was, even on non-news, non-political subreddits like r/pics, which has historically been like, look at this interesting thing, or look at this wild landscape, or look at this cute puppy, or here's a funny meme, or whatever. It was a really general place to just get interesting things on the internet. It has become the focal point, the centerpiece for anti-fascist resistance, political protest images. A lot of them have been, I don't know, like, hey, look at this shitty Trump rally, or hey, look at Elon Musk being a dickhead, and kind of calling attention to our current political moment by sharing photos and images that were very telling of our political time, I guess. Hopefully I'm explaining that right. And it wasn't just one-offs. It was like every single day, the top post on r/picks was, hey, look at this. Look at this important thing. Isn't it disturbing or upsetting or politically important? And I was like, huh. I maybe I need to unsubscribe from this as well. Not because it's not good or important, but I just don't want it. I don't want to see it right now. And then I started seeing, this was about as of last week, I started seeing images of real meaningful protests in New York City, which is in our neck of the woods here, Washington, D.C., Austin, Texas, Utah, California, Sacramento, I believe I saw some stuff. And I was like, wow, this is not just, 50 people holding up signs. This is like Union Square in New York City filled with people bringing the signs and saying, we will not stand for this. We will not stand for this takeover of our democratic principles, our subjugation of checks and balances, our, this sort of racist, xenophobic, damaging, anti-LGBT, anti-trans, everything. People standing up in the freezing cold, by the way. It's been like 15 degrees here in New York, and I'm sure it's not much better in DC or whatever. Gathering and chanting and standing up. I was like, okay, all right. It's happening. It's kicking off. How can I participate? How can I join? How can I support? And I think there were a lot of complaints in or there was a lot of discussion in the comments of like, hey, we need to protect these protesters. We need to blur their faces. We need to, if you are, supportive of these protests, how can we keep them going? How can we get them organized? And I started to find links and comments pointing to this organization called 50501, which is it's like 50. Okay, I gotta look this up here. I have it written down on a sheet of paper, but I'm gonna open it up in my documents here. This is a link from the New York Times. Oh, you know what? I was looking on Google News to say, it's because there were a lot of comments of like, hey, the mainstream media is not covering these protests enough or at all. And I was like, all right, well, let me check. And sure enough, Google News was just showing me the latest Trump psychoness and tech news and gaming news. And it's like, tailored for my interests, right? But if I searched for protest in Google News, I was seeing links to New York Times. On Saturday, let's see, thousands of protesters opposing broad swaths of President Trump's agenda took to the streets across the United States on Monday, calling Trump a king. This was on President's Day. Thousands gather on President's Day to call Trump a tyrant, which is what he is. But I want to get the name of this. Okay, the 50501 movement. 50 protests in 50 states on one day. So this is 50501. So this seems to be this is a grassroots, according to their website, a grassroots organization of non-professional protesters who have been partnering with a variety of activism groups across the country in many states to say, can we get action moving in all states at all time in some sort of unified step, right? And I was like, all right. The heroes are here. The heroes are stepping forward to organize. So I did some research and I reached out to them because they're being quoted in the New York Times and other coverage. Sarah Parker, the executive director of 50501's member organization, which is called Voices of Florida, said that nationwide protests were fueled by a post on Reddit. The conversation on Reddit gained traction as more people who were looking for ways to act on their frustrations about the Trump administration joined the conversation, she said, quoted in the New York Times. And I read that quote and I read that understanding of the current sort of social media flashpoint. And I said, that's me. That's how I feel. That's what I'm looking for. And now we have it. We have the kindling is burning. The people are gathering, and it is due in large part to connectivity on Reddit and perhaps other places that are off of corporate social. I mean, Reddit is corporate, but I often, as a longtime user and deeply immersed person in the culture and subcultures of Reddit, I think of Reddit as human-powered algorithms. It is an algorithmic platform by nature, but it is what you see on Reddit is determined by what human beings are doing, sort of one for one. So posts that are upvoted the most are at the top. Posts that are downvoted the most are at the bottom. And you can sort the posts in chronological order. You can collect the posts by, hey, this is what was popular within a certain period of time. You can see into the machine and say, show me the things that are relevant to what I am trying to understand in this moment. It is not the same black box as let me open up Facebook or Instagram and get whatever psychotic, inflammatory, racist shit that the black box algorithm serves to me. It's not perfect. Obviously, Reddit has pockets of, I don't know what you call it, radicalism or alt-right, whatever, but it is not pushing that shit into your moderate uncle's face on a daily basis. You have to know where to go and where to look to find it. And by and large, the largest subreddits and the largest communities on Reddit are progressive / very progressive, as we see from this, this flashpoint here. All that to say is I find it to be a much more valuable and useful and community-minded place than other for-profit algorithmic social media platforms. So by that I mean it is not surprising that it has become the place for organizing. But anyway, I reached out to 50501 and I said, hey, seems like shit's kicking off. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how it's kicking off on social media. And Sarah got back to me right away, within a day, and said, yes, we have someone who would love to talk about it. So I'm hoping to set up this interview for this week, which would then publish next week. So that's cool. And I'll keep you posted on that. I'm very excited about covering this topic. It's very important to me, obviously. It makes me feel like I can do something, shed light or bring attention to something. Not like this show is going to be the flashpoint for anything for global protests or whatever. But I would like to know more. I would like to share that. We'll deep dive into it, and perhaps that will be useful to you in whatever form of resistance you are interested in taking. So stay tuned for that. That's going to come up next week. I do also have confirmation from an old pal. We had collaborated in the past, back in a different time of social media and YouTube. His name is Mike Rugnetta, who you might be familiar with if you remember ye old PBS Idea channel, which was truly one of my favorite YouTube channels back in the day. It was sort of this initiative, not sort of, it was this initiative from PBS and public broadcasting to say, you know what? We need to start reaching the YouTube generation, and we need to start creating thought-provoking content, nonprofit content on the internet and on YouTube, so that the mission of PBS can be furthered. And so I believe they were financing a production company that was making this channel and a variety of other channels. And Mike Rugnetta, who's a writer and producer based in New York City, I believe he's based in Brooklyn, was the creator and face of it. And he would do these really extraordinary, like what we know now as video essays, explainers about just like complex ideas and thought-provoking, like thought experiments about a variety of topics. And it was huge. It was enormously popular. Mike went on to do a variety of podcasts, and he's just an incredibly thoughtful, introspective guy. He's a brilliant like science communicator and ideas communicator. And even if you're not like a hardcore fan of his work, I think if you Google him or recall PBS Idea Channel and other projects he's worked on, you will be quickly reminded of him and his work. And we got to collaborate a few times in ye olden days. And I reached out. I said, you know what? Yeah, you probably don't remember me, but you're still doing cool shit, and I would like to talk to you. He has a great podcast, which he doesn't publish as frequently these days, but it's called Reasonably Sound, which is just an excellent analysis of like sound, like sounds that matter to human culture. What's the deal with applause? Like, what's the deal with clapping? Why did that become a thing? And he kind of like traces back the roots and cultural origins of that. I love this shit. And he's very generous with his time and with his projects. So stay tuned for a chat with Mike Rugnetta. I'm really looking forward to reconnecting with him. And lots of other stuff that is being scheduled coming along. So looking forward to upcoming episodes, and looking forward to making those all possible thanks to the generous support of patrons like you. Thank you to everyone who contributes at any dollar amount. You can get ad-free episodes, and you can get thanked on this very program at the executive producer tier. Those people contribute $10 or more per month, including Bowie Barks, Dominic Kerr, William, and Duran. I really appreciate that support, and it makes the show possible. Your support in February went to the Free Our Feeds Foundation. The discussion with Mallory Nodal was extraordinary. Learned a lot. Really want to have her back to discuss. We went off on a variety of tangents, and we had to say like, hey, that's a cool topic, and we're going to talk about that in the future. So I'm looking forward to having her back. She got the trivia wrong, which means I made a donation to Free Our Feeds, which is a foundation that is going to hopefully build on the federated social media platforms that we already have to wrest the social web away from billionaires, because it's not working out too great for us. One more item to cover here that I thought was super interesting is that a YouTube channel called, what is it called? True Crime Case Files had uploaded 150 videos about, and I'm putting up air quotes, true crime. Which, as we know, true crime is very popular on the internet. The podcasts, the YouTube channels, I get it, but also, I don't know why. Why do we want to listen to stories about grisly murders and rapes? I don't want to yuck your yum. It's not for me. this YouTube channel was crazy popular and uploaded 150 videos about true crime, except all of the videos were written by ChatGPT using images created by AI image generators. So I assume, what is it called? Not DeepSeek. What am I thinking of? Sora, and it's escaping me. I don't remember the names of them. I'm looking at it. Can't think of it. I'm going to look it up. What is it? What is it? Why? What is it? Come on. What are they called? Fuck you. Fuck you, Google. You literally. Okay, what's it called? Midjourney, Dolly, Stable Diffusion, Adobe Firefly. I think I've talked. Yeah, I've covered it. I just got finally invited to the test of that, and it's fine. But I am hopeful that it will create AI ethical images because it is supposedly compensating and crediting the source material, and it is only using consenting source material. A way forward for image generation. Anyway, all these videos were written by AI. Images of the people in the stories, the victims, the perpetrators were all generated by AI, and the voiceovers, the narration of the channel was an AI voice. All of the videos were like super like algorithmic clickbait, like related to like child sex trafficking and transgender teachers sleeping with their students and husband's secret gay love affair with stepson ends in grisly murder. Like just the shittiest crap you could imagine. And so here's the thing: these videos had millions and millions of views. The creator was theoretically making decent money on this, but it was never disclosed as AI generated. So people presumably were watching and listening and consuming this wildly popular channel and assuming that these stories were true and that these people were real and that this creator was a real person, really speaking with a real voice. And then, the internet started wondering, like, wow, this murder story is crazy. So weird that that my local paper here in Denver is not. There's no record of this. There's no coverage of this terrible murder. What's up with that? And eventually, it was flagged finally by YouTube, and the channel was taken down. Not expressly because it was all AI generated. YouTube is fucking building AI gen tools into its platform and telling creators, yeah, look at all this AI shit you could use to make more videos. But specifically because it was none of the content was disclosed as AI generated content. And that's a real problem, but it took 150 videos and millions upon millions of views for YouTube to finally take action on the content, and presumably millions of people were tricked and fooled into thinking this was all real. A lot of this coverage comes from 404 Media, which is a great website. Millions of views, no disclosure about the AI. Instead, the channel's creator told 404 Media that his content, quote, needs to be called true crime because true crime is a genre. I wanted the audience to think about why it matters so much to them that real people are being murdered, end quote. What does that mean? So it's fake videos about fake people with fake stories, but you're calling it true crime because true crime is a genre, like fantasy or historical fiction or whatever. It's like true crime is a genre, but it implies that it doesn't imply. It means that the stories are true. If the stories are not true, you would just call it crime, mystery, suspense. Those are the genres that you're looking for, sir. True crime is not. That's not what it is. Okay. So, as according to 404, ultimately it was the video called "Husband's Secret Gay Love Affair with Stepson Ends in Grisly Murder" that led YouTube to terminate True Crime Case Files for, quote, multiple violations of our community guidelines, including our policies covering child safety that prohibit the sexualization of minors. So it wasn't even the AI gen shit. It was the minors, the sexualization shit. That the straw that broke the camel's back. When you upload to YouTube, this was fairly recent, within the last 12 months, calendar year, not within 2025, of course. But I remember specifically when I uploaded a video to either one of my channels or a client's channel, and all of a sudden I saw this prompt that was like, "Hey, just making sure, is any of this stuff in this video AI generated? Tick this box, yes or no." I was like, oh, okay, great. For every video you upload, you must disclose. You must say whether there is AI synthetic content in the video, along with two other things, which is like, hey, is anything in this video paid for by a brand? Is this video sponsored? Please disclose, yes or no. Is anything in this video AI generated? Please disclose, yes or no. And thirdly, is this video intended for children? If the video is intended for children as the audience, then comments are turned off, and you get less advertising. You get the non-targeted, less money-making ads, which is great, which is very good. It's a good system. It affected one of my channels adversely because I was making content for everyone, family-friendly content, mostly intended for adults, not for children. But because it featured children and was family-friendly, comments were being restricted, and the community for that project was being hamstrung, which sucked. But it's a good idea that affected certain projects adversely. Anyway, if this person was ticking the box saying, nope, this is all real, no AI here, then fuck you. I'm not 100% anti-AI gen. But we need the disclosures, we need the safety, and if you're going to trick millions of people with 100, you're going to publish 150 videos that are all fake and make probably thousands of dollars before it's done. This is a bellwether. There's a canary in the coal mine here for, because it's only going to get, the tools are only going to get more amazing. They're only going to get more sophisticated. It's only going to look more and more real and sound great. I mean, it already does. So yeah. A fascinating test case for the future. For now, I do thank you for listening. Thanks for hanging out, and I'm very excited about those upcoming guests. If you are interested in asking questions of the guests, you can always subscribe to the Patreon for free. You can hop into the Discord. You can email me. All the links are in the show notes and in the video description, as always. And I implore you, I beg of you, please rewind your podcasts after listening, and I will talk at you in 1 week's time.